Africa to change, of course, she has to really go through deep change. With superficial change, for example, change in the system, change in the policy, change in people, it doesn't take us anywhere. We need to carry out deep change, and deep change requires to really transform and change the culture. I tell always people, of course, jokingly, that we are the products of our culture. I can give you an example. I'm a veterinarian, so we used to produce bacteria. And the culture determines what kind of bacteria you're going to have. You can have the same bacteria, but different cultures. You may produce a vaccine because of the culture, because of the substance, because of the temperature and so on that you put in the culture. Or you can produce a violent biological weapon with the same bacteria, different cultures. Therefore, what we need is to have a culture that encourages innovation, a culture that encourages collaboration, a culture that incentivizes hard work, discipline, and character, a culture that produces people with the right mindset. Now, my slides, okay, so we decided to just bridge three G gaps. We call them generational gaps, geographic gap, and gender gap. And we would like to invest on women and youth by engaging the diaspora. We don't want to be everywhere. We selected 2 important sections of our community, and we had already launched a conference in America. These were the speakers. As you can see, we have only 1 Ethiopian. Some people asked me, actually, a journalist asked me, on your flyer, which means on this flyer, you have all Ethiopians. Why you call it Bridging the Leadership Gaps in Africa? No. We had a launching conference in the US. As you can see, we have different speakers around the world, mainly from Africa. This was a team that made it happen. Now we have this launching conference. So far, we haven't really implemented the program. We have major leadership programs and support programs to make sure that we bridge the leadership gaps. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the major leadership development programs that we have. Foundational, intermediate, and advanced. In the next maybe 20 years, we believe that Africa can experience true and lasting transformation. How many of you agree with me? How many of you? You know what makes me passionate about? Think about it. Earlier, Mati mentioned about it. Think about it. Me being aged and old, the only thing I want to see, looking back, is I played some role, at least creating this environment, bringing volunteers and the strategic partners to cause, of course, true transformation in Africa. Looking back to say, I had at least one role. At least I throw one stone. And my legacy going to be telling to my children and grandchildren that we, this generation, you guys, especially the youth, we did it. And we don't die bowing our head, being ashamed that we failed to experience true transformation. We have the potential, we have the ability. What's left is you guys, myself, everyone, to believe that we have the potential. And we have programs to enable youth and women leaders in one generation. We're not ambitious to think that we can transform Africa or any country, any community in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. It doesn't happen. It's a long haul. It may take us 2 decades, but we are here, and that's why we have different programs, different stage. And as you can see, we have also support program. Training is not enough. Coaching is not enough. We have different support programs, and we have some of them. And also, our foundational program is called Raising the New Breed Leaders of Africa. We need new breeds of leaders of Africa. And the goal is to raise 1 million new breed leaders of Africa in one generation, so that we have competent leaders who could be able to shoulder the transformation of Africa. Now, this program is a one-day program, and it's foundational, mandatory to the new breed leaders of Africa, 1 million of them, to pass through this program. We already launched the first session in the US. These are cohorts D1. You know what D means? Diaspora. New breed leaders of Africa, D1. We have another batch coming on These are some of the pictures. We have another one coming on July 20, the first program in Africa. You know their name? Cohort A1. You could call it Africa 1 or Addis Ababa 1. So we have that one coming. And actually, we have Ahadu. He's also the guest of honor. He's sitting at the back. He's one of our strategic partners. And those of you who registered, we only accepted 30 of them. All right. So these programs, they have 3 focus areas. Mindset, if you remember, His Excellency Dr. Githaun, he was talking about the importance of the mindset. Because leadership is not all about the skills and the character. The mindset is very important. And of course, skill sets and character. I want to quickly touch all of these 3 areas that we focus in raising the new breed leaders of Africa. Let's talk about mindset. If I allow you to define mindset, we may have different definitions. But we believe that a mindset is a framework of mind, how we view ourselves, others, and our environment. You can have 2 different people. We want them to see themselves, because this cat, you know, she doesn't think that she's just a mere canine, just cat. She looks into the mirror and thinks that she is a lion. Because of the thinking of the leader, the outside world, the people, the followers, and so on, going to be influenced by the leader. If the leader doesn't have the mindset first changed within him or within her, they cannot change the world. They cannot change the mindsets of others. That's why it's very important. Now, I want to be honest, because unless we feel the pain, we don't change. Believe me, unless you have difficulties in your health, you don't really change your health. Unless you have difficulties in your finance, you don't determine to change in the way you handle your finance. So let's face it. Through my readings, through my conversations, these are the mindsets. I'm saying the average African mindset. I'm an African. So I'm not downplaying, but we have to face it. We see people thinking inferiority when they think of the minister also said it. When we see big things, we think we're not the one going to make that kind of big things. Unless we change that, we cannot transform Africa. And also, we believe that foreign is better. Chinese are good in certain things. We need to get those things from Chinese. Americans are good in certain things. We need to get those things from them. But we Africans should also have our own unique contribution to the world. And we should not always think that foreign products, foreign investors, foreign professionals are better than ours. You can have an African and of colonization, slave trade, and so on. Africa has been, nurtured to think that we're not leaders. We wait. We should have taken leadership at continental, global stage. But we believe that we're not leaders. We expect other communities to take lead. I mean, that's not fair for us. That's not fair to the world. We have to be solution providers, and we should believe that we are leaders also in the area where we're passionate about. And also, we always look for rescuers from outside. I meet people, and they look for some rescue. But we don't want to have a generation that looks for rescuing, because no generation, no community changed by hope, and they changed it. What kind of mindset that we need for the new breed leaders of Africa? I have 4 minutes, so I'm going to rush it through. She's nice for me because I was expecting her to be a dictator. But nice, thank you. I have 4 minutes. I'll finish that before you come and take away the stage for me. We want the new generation to be self-reliant. The mentality of, I can overcome. The mentality of new mindset. I want to ask you, you cannot go anywhere. Mindset makes or breaks. And we need the new generation to have optimism. I'm a leadership expert. I myself want to contribute here. I don't want you to go somewhere to be better, because if you have a mentality that doesn't believe in overcoming challenges, because there are a lot of challenges in your home country. Even if you go somewhere, you cannot succeed. mentality of overcomer. And the skill sets are, I may have a mindset. If I don't have the skill sets to communicate, the ability to manage emotions, communicate, 85% success comes from soft skills, only 15% from technical skills. In America, the first 18 months, they studied first hires. Technical skills are important. I want to emphasize this one and finish. Based on their qualifications, based on their skills and so on. That's okay. Even in Ethiopia, we have a saying, "Yetamare yigdalኝ." But we need to have now different quantification for leadership. What we need is leaders who have character. Because without character, a leader cannot have authenticity, credibility, and a leader without trustworthiness and dependability cannot transform Africa. So we need new breed leaders of Africa with the right mindset, skill set, and character set. A lot of initiatives have been launched. What are the next steps? I told you July 20, we have the first program in Africa. We're going to have the offer to you guys to join this movement. And also, we want you to be part of Pro Leadership. We want you also to be strategic partners. We want you to also get some of our programs. Together, we could be able to transform Africa in one generation. I'm here today representing Pro Leadership and all the people who sacrifice their time, energy to make this happen. But if we don't come together, work together, we cannot transform Africa in one generation. We cannot raise 1 million new breed leaders of Africa. Many of you are here. We want you to come to work with us. Together, we'll change history. Africa will stand up, look back 20 years, would say that we too, Africans, we did it. And you have a role. Today, we have given you that chance, and we want you to take it. Thank you very much.
And next, I already told you I love stories, right? So the next person is also very close to me, and he's going to tell us his story, and that's Samuel Bekele. Hold on. Yes, you don't want me to say anything about you, no? No, I'm going to say a few things. So, as I told you earlier, these two people, Samhal and Samuel, are one of the many people that are behind the establishment of Quinda Media, and they accompanied me in my journey of being an entrepreneur. Still, it's a bit tough to say that because, that brings a lot of memories. So when I told Sami that I am working on this idea that, as I said, has been fermenting for about 12 years, he said, okay, Meti, the next contract I will give you is only if you have a business license. So I used to freelance a lot, and as an individual, as a contractor, that I was doing that. So he was actually very serious about that. And he was giving me his journey as an entrepreneur as an example. He started Spotlight about not even 2 years ago. And yes, I remember Sami was the one who was doing... he was the CEO, the CFO, the CEO, the marketing person. He only has one person that joined him later. She was his right hand and his left hand. And he said, we got to do it. We have to do it. Escamechi. And there is this one thing that he said that really pushed me. You are here with so much potential. If you don't use it, I'm going to be so disappointed. And I was like, oh my God, he believed in me. He's not the only one who believed in me, but when I thought of, a friend and a supporter not talking to me just because I am not using my potential and not starting my business, that was a wake-up call. Samuel has started Spotlight, and he has been working specifically on digital marketing that puts Spotlight on a different spectrum than other communication and marketing companies running in town. And currently, just this afternoon, he got a huge account I'm not going to reveal. I saw him in his office, and I saw him how he talks to his people, very young team, and they're all vibrant, and sometimes it confuses you. Who owns Spotlight? Is it Sami or the rest of the team? Because he instilled that sense of belongingness in everything that they do. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, please put your hands together for this amazing leader. And I am so happy to call him a friend, Samuel Bakala from Spotlight.
So thank you so much. This is really an honor to stand in front of a lot of young people to share a little bit of my experience. I'd like to thank Dr. Asagid. This is my first time to see him today. We've only had communication via email, and this is really a wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much. Young people, my message to you today is, if you understand the immense potential that you have within you, then you would literally stop and find your only passion and pursue it for the rest of your life. I quit my daytime job. I returned all my benefits, my company car. I was chief strategist at some place, and I was at a multinational drinks business as head of corporate relations. I gave all that up to start my own business, and I borrowed a laptop about 2 summers ago, and all by myself with a borrowed laptop, I started Spotlight Communications and Marketing, a full-service creative agency. And 2 years later, I have 3 different businesses in the creative industry. And the impact of these businesses you might have seen. If you see the recent documentary was The Fastest Family in Our Country, or Go Big in Ethiopia. These are the collaboration my second company, Urban Productions, does. And Spotlight Communications and Marketing have Coca-Cola as our client. We have Habesha Beer as our client. And so many international organizations as well. The reason why I'm quickly telling you about my experience is, when I started my business at first, it was as if, what the hell was I thinking? I apologize for swearing in this room, but it was, what was I thinking? So whenever you know something, go for it, do it, don't hesitate to do it. There is a huge misunderstanding of the concept of leadership, which I've been asked to speak about. The definition of leadership could be extremely vast. A lot of people believe in trait leadership. Some people follow transformative leadership. Some people, like Dr. Asagid, practice leadership, breathe leadership on a daily basis. But my definition of leadership for everybody in this room is how you handle your day-to-day activities in life, and how you hold yourself accountable for your accomplishment is the most important thing in your life. Don't confuse movement with progress, young people. Don't confuse activity with productivity. That's the one thing that I tell you. Finally, what I like to leave you with here. If you want to accomplish something great, it's going to be really, really hard. Live with that fact. The notion of luck, the notion of sitting around and waiting for something to happen in our country need to be destroyed. If that happens, then young people can create something so transformative, so massive, that by the end of the second year of your businesses, you can hire 31 full-time employees with close to 1 million payroll every month, and you can literally tell your employees that you could do this yourselves as well. We have a 99% employee retention, almost a 98% employee retention at Spotlight. The reason that happens is when young people start businesses with transformative leadership approach, they can not only transform companies, but their nation. I'm not asking everybody to be an entrepreneur in this room. I'm not asking everybody to start your own business in this room. If you are a government employee, if you are a civil servant, if you have a career that's been thriving or that's been failing, everything you do, do it consciously and do the greatest thing you can do within that frame of work that you're doing. Leadership isn't something that's so complicated and esoteric with titles and fancy things. Leadership is taking care of your passion until the day that you're gone. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much, young people.
Well, about how he struggled through making, like putting Spotlight where it is today, because I have seen it, how much fisty struggle that he had to do in this market to get where he got. So maybe that is for another time. All right, so now we'll go to Dr. Eyob Mammo. Dr. Eyob Mammo has written 17 books. Yes, you heard that right. Asra Sabat, 17 books. Yeah. So earlier he asked me, so are you writing your book? And I said, no, somebody else is writing for me. And they're on chapter 1. So he said, you know what? Don't think so big. Yes, you'll get there. You'll write your big book, but start with a small one. Just start it. And he started it, and now he is on number 17. I wonder how many more are coming. So Dr. Yob Mamo is going to be talking about the leadership qualities needed to transform Africa in one generation. Dr. Yob is an author, speaker, entrepreneur, and currently he's going to share his experience on transforming Africa within one generation. And please help me in welcoming him to the podium. Dr. Yob, the floor is yours.
I want to thank again the organizers of this event. It's a very interesting event. As you can imagine or clearly see, a lot of people are being interested in this thing called leadership, because leadership, the issue of leadership is within us. We're born to lead. And that leadership begins with self-leadership. We need to lead ourselves first. This is like an introduction that I want to start with. But today's topic that has been given to me is the leadership quality needed to transform Africa in one generation. I'm kind of like, that's a vast area to talk about. I'm going to keep it very short. But today I want to talk about the importance of trust in the African culture. In order to transform our continent and our people, our community, trust is at the core of the current need in Africa. For a leader to lead and the followers to follow, trust is the key component in our community, especially in Africa. In fact, trust is the foundation for every relationship. Every relationship is based on trust. Without trust, a community or any relationship may survive but would not prosper. So I want to encourage the next generation leaders today that trust is the key for our relationship, for our ambition, for our vision, for whatever we do. Trust is a very key that we need today in Africa. One of the social factors that determine national peace, growth, and security is trust. I want to keep on hammering the same concept of trust. Unless we trust one another in Africa, specifically in Ethiopia, if we want to talk about as a nation, we need to think and develop this concept of trust and make it a point of discussion in every arena, day-to-day in our day-to-day business. Have you noticed that your relationship is based on trust, whether it's business or social or family? It's all guided by trust. You wouldn't meet a person unless you trust that person. I wouldn't come to this event unless I trusted Dr. Assegar and what he said and what he claimed to be or to be doing in the future. Every healthy social process is held together by trust. We were born trusting our family, trusting the people who cook our food, not knowing what they put in that food. We go places trusting. So it's within our DNA to trust. We love because of trust. We love because we trust that the other person will love back and give back love to us. We eat things that we don't cook again. We ride a taxi because of trust. We get on a bus. We even fly, trusting someone we don't know, hoping that he will get us at our destination safely. We follow our leaders as a nation, or religious leaders, or it could be any small organization because of trust. The moment we stop trusting, our whole system will crumble. This is something that we really need to think about seriously. So behind every social ill, we find an element of mistrust. You look at your relationship, past relationship that failed, you'll find an element of mistrust right there. You see what's going on in our nation, or has been going on in our nation. I don't want to go into details because that's not my purpose. We see what's going on in Africa, between tribes, between different nations. There is an element of mistrust right there. You can have all the power, all the authority, all riches, all knowledge. If you don't command trust, you will not be around for too long. Trust is very important. One of the things a good leader does is that he or she creates an environment of trust. Now, trust has two dimensions to it. Some of our speakers mentioned this concept. The first dimension is, of course, competence. You trust people because they're competent. The second dimension is character. So these two components have to be balanced in order for us to trust someone completely. If I hire someone to do a job for me, I first have to trust his competence. And then he has to come and prove that his character is in line with what we have set as a standard in our company. So we always are looking for leaders with competence and with character. So those two components or dimensions have to come into alignment. Now, I'm sure if you read a little bit about culture or some social issues, you will know that the world is divided into two when it comes to this cultural inclinations. There are cultures that they call high-trust cultures or societies and low-trust cultures in society. Unfortunately, our culture is a low-trust one, which means people don't trust each other that much. How many of you would go to a store or a shop or, let's say, a repair shop and give your 20,000 birr cell phone for a repair and just drop a note, get a receipt, and walk away without being concerned that that person will not steal something out of your cell phone? Trust issue. A lot of us are stressed about these things. It's very hard to trust someone. So we have a very low culture of trust. Like well-developed countries like America, England, have a high trust culture, above 40%, they say. If you study, you'll find it. It's easy, just Google it. Scandinavian countries like Norway, Sweden, Finland have a usually high culture of trust. People trust each other. Individuals trust each other. Countries like in the continents of Africa, South America, have a very low trust culture. We are struggling to trust our friends, our lovers, our governments, a person that's different from us, a person who speaks a different language. We're suspicious all the time. And unless we restore trust and get back to that normal self, which is we are born to trust. We came into this world trusting someone. We need to restore trust if we have to raise the next generation excellent leaders. So this is the message that I have for these young people. Let me tell you something. Trust breeds trust. Mistrust breeds mistrust. When I first returned from the United States, where I was studying, I was driving. It's a custom there. When you get to an intersection, if the vehicles ahead of you are stopping, you stop where you are so you don't block the intersection. So I stopped. So as soon as I stopped, the car behind me came around. It blocked the intersection. So I'm like, this must be a crazy man. But it happened again another time. And it happened again. It kept happening. What do I do after that? I block that intersection myself because I don't trust the person behind me anymore. I might honor the rules, but the person behind me will not honor that rule, so I don't trust him anymore. That's how we breed mistrust in our culture. So mistrust is very costly. It's costing us everything. We lose our time because of mistrust. Imagine the line we wait at the airport after the terrorist attacks. You have to be at the airport 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours early. I used to walk through airports within like 20 minutes. My friends used to walk me all the way to the gates when I flew. Not anymore. Mistrust is costing us time. We lose our freedom because of mistrust. Can you imagine how many places you can explore, you can travel to, if you were to trust that area? It's limiting us. We lose valuable people because of a lack of trust. Imagine the strength we have as different kind of people because of our race, the language we speak, everything about us is different if we trust one another. We lose our unity because of mistrust. We lose a lot of money because of mistrust. Imagine the paperwork you have to go through, the legal processing you have to go through, and the amount of money you pay to do this just because you don't trust the other person on the other hand. Africa needs to restore trust. Stephen Covey, in his famous book, I would encourage you to read this book, The Speed of Trust, says when trust go up, speed will also go up, and cost will go down. The same author says in the same book, without trust, there is no open society because there are not enough police to patrol every opening in an open society. Without trust, there can also be no flat world because it's trust that allows us to take down walls, remove barriers, and eliminate friction at borders. Trust is essential for a flat world. I implore you, as young people, I implore our leaders to work on restoring trust among our communities. Now, let me give you my final thought. What can we do as leaders? Now, my definition of leadership, as my friends defined leadership, which are all the right way of definition, is leadership. Everyone is a leader. So if everyone is a leader, I'm a leader too. You are a leader too. So if you're leaders, we have to open the way for others to follow by influencing people. I'll come to that in a minute. Let me give you a few points as to what we can do to restore trust in our community. You see, first, trust is granted to you for free. But once lost, it will cost you everything to restore it. Trust is a free gift, but once lost, it will cost us to earn it back. I didn't have to do anything for my children, I have two children, okay? I didn't have to do anything for them to trust me. But if I were to abuse one of them, either physically or verbally or something else, I'll have to earn it again. It's not free anymore. So Africa, the African community, the Ethiopian community have to earn the trust again, back again. We have to work hard to do that. Trust is rebuilt through time once we lost it. Trust is a treasure that we'll need to protect at any cost. In your relationship, protect trust at any cost. Once trust is gone, that relationship is not existing anymore. Leaders cannot afford to expect people to trust them unwisely. There's this thing called wise trust. You just cannot blindly trust everyone. Leaders initiate trust by trusting first. So I'll give you 4 points and I conclude. First, leaders create trust by being transparent. The more transparent we are as leaders, people tend to trust us. Transparency has to do with the flow of precise information in a timely fashion. The more information, the more precise information you release as a leader, the more trusted you are. If you hold your information, then trust is low in that organization, as a nation, or any entity. High trust leaders show trust by releasing information and not hide it. When leaders mistrust, they hide or twist significant information. That breeds more untrust. Second, Leaders create trust by allowing others to inspire them. We normally think that it is just leaders inspiring other people, but as leaders, we need to expect or allow people to inspire us. Inspiration has to do with the leader's openness to allow others to influence their decision, his decision. We need to allow, as leaders, to for other people to influence our decision, which needs trust. As a leader, I want to trust before I expect trust from other people. So, in spite of looking weak, strong leaders are open to be influenced by the counsel of other people. When leaders mistrust, they reject any view that's not congruent with their personal view. Let me give you a third one. Leaders create trust by not using their authority to manipulate people. I want to emphasize the importance of trust before you leave this place, so much so that when you sleep, that word trust buzzes in your ear in your sleep. So I can think about it the next day. Build your trust with your friends. Build your trust with your lovers. Build your trust with your relationship, within your company. Expect trust. Demand trust in your community. Manipulation is the use of our power and authority to limit people. Every time you use your power and your authority to limit people, that's called manipulation. That's the simplest and the fastest way to lose trust. Leaders show trust when they allow people to express their views freely. When leaders mistrust, they're terrified by the very hint of people exercising their freedom. We need trust. And the last one, leaders create trust by restoring the true definition of leadership. Now, high trust leaders serve first before demanding service. Now, leadership is not about being served. It's about being a servant to other people. People tend to trust leaders who serve them with humility. So when leaders redefine what we know normally as the meaning of leadership, which is like way up high, respected, nobody can reach them, they are too heavy, too serious, scary, that kind of mentality. A leader, to bring trust to his people, has to change that definition. Leadership is about a lifestyle, not about a title. You just live your life, lead yourself, and influence others as you go about your business. As I finish my speech, let me leave you with this thought. When you are gone, and one day you will be gone, you will be remembered by two things. The first one is you'll be remembered by the problem you created. Number two, you'll be remembered by the problem you solved. Which one you want to choose, it's your take today. I want to be remembered by the problem I solved in my community. History will remember you. As my friend has been saying in this same line. Right now, I can mention two names. What comes to your mind? Hitler, Martin Luther King Jr. They're still being taught in schools, being mentioned. Even right now, I'm mentioning these names. When I say Hitler, what comes to your mind? Killer, murderer, hater, power abuser. When I say Martin Luther, what comes to your mind? Hitler killed and killed himself, killed others and killed himself. Martin Luther King Jr. gave life, gave freedom, and got killed because of his values. So people, long after you're gone, you'll be remembered by these two things, by the problem you created and by the problem you solved. I would encourage you to be determined enough to be remembered by the problem you solved. I thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for that warm introduction. So for anybody that doesn't know ACCA, it means we are a very qualified board accountants. So for my panel, I'm going to start with the ladies. Sawit, for those of you that don't know her, she's currently the president of Association of Women in Business, in Boldness actually, it's been changed, in the accountants logo, business without mascot. She works extensively with various UN organizations. I actually thought her background was a gender expert, but she's also a lecturer. She's also has a journalism background, a mother of two. I don't know if you follow her on Facebook. She has a very beautiful picture of her and her very young, handsome husband. I'm going to she's a good example of a very successful young. That it can all be done long. I'm always complaining that's difficult to be successful here in Ethiopia, but she's a living example of that. So thank you so much for attending our event. Second panelist, where is she? She's usually hiding. Magda Alamu, please. Can you please show yourself? Magda, so the leadership conference, we're going to see it from three different aspects. We've got Magda, who's representing our in leadership. And let's bring that to the context of here in Addis as well. Although it's an Africa conversation, let's bring it from your own experience. What do you think, let me start with you, Abi. Yeah? What do you think the youth can do regarding leadership?
So I would like to start, let's first think about some facts we need to agree so that, we're arriving at the last part of the session. A lot of things have been said about leadership. A lot of theories have been set. And I would like to start by saying that, first of all, the various leadership gaps we see, be it geographical, gender, or intergenerational, it all comes from young people lacking the space, the safe space to exercise leadership. There's a lot of interesting stories we heard. I wish I can tell you a lot about myself, but it's not about me today. It's about what enabled those leadership qualities to come out of myself, which I didn't discover growing up and going to school. So allow me to tell you just a brief story. Back in 2012, almost 7 years back, I was a civil and environmental engineering student in Ameskilo. And two things really bothered me. One is the fact that I had plenty of time. Ironic. I had plenty of time. And the fact that I was bothered by the fact that we were producing engineers but not preparing ourselves. We're preparing ourselves academically, but we're not preparing ourselves for what the world is out there is really expecting from us. So I took it upon myself to start a Model UN program in an engineering institute, and I wish His Excellency Dr. Getaun was here. Back at the time, His Excellency was the scientific director for the institute. Hello, can you hear me now? Better, okay. So His Excellency was at the time the scientific director in the institute, and he was walking on the corridor, and I quickly went to him and said, "Sir, I want to form a group that works on public speaking skills, leadership skills, public diplomacy skills. I know we're engineers, but we want to do something, we want to experiment with something that will excite young people outside the academic space and create that platform." He said, okay, he didn't quite hear me what exactly I was saying, but he just understood I was really excited of creating it. He let me support the letter, he gave me the support letter through the office. We started it, and not a lot of people know this. Addis Ababa University Institute of Technology was among the most active Model UN programs in the first history of Addis Ababa University. a lot of young people came from that and learned the experience to practice their passion, lead, communicate. Dr. Ayub mentioned about trust. That's where the trust needs practice. Leadership is not just about theory. You need a place where you need to practice about it. And we quickly shared that with, now addressing the geographic gap now we've been mentioning. We quickly shared it with other universities, Adama University, Addis Ababa Science and Technology University. And it quickly became, young people love competition. We started creating inter-university exchange, inter-university competitions, and that's where the real leadership comes from. And secondly, I want to mention that in a lot of the geographic leadership gaps we see, most of the opportunities and access is limited to cities. We don't look and reach out into our rural universities. Believe it or not, 110 million people in Ethiopia, I can fairly say it's majorly fairly represented in these institutions. That's why we're having this dialogue in these spaces. Universities are fundamental in nurturing leadership in young people. We need to equally serve, so coming to my point, I'll try to make it short. I'm trying to say is we need to enable young people, academic institutions to enable young people to exercise leadership, create youth-led initiatives within their universities. And while I was trying to share this thing in Jimma University, Wallo, Kombolcha University, when I was trying to tell them to 5th year graduating students, although they're excited that they're about to graduate, and I'm telling them about these stories, they're kind of disappointed because, Abi, this is like we're almost about to graduate and we don't have time to do all of this. But I'm sharing to all of you who are in 3rd year, 2nd year, please push your schools to invest resources in your student-led initiatives. This is the playground where you're going to learn a lot of things and create trust, build networks, except because by the time you graduate, everything, real life hits you and you don't have time to really practice. So let's begin with that. And I hope to share everything, but anyways.